And so it really helped me to realign myself and to become a different version of myself. It wasn't easy. I'll tell you that, right? It was not easy. And the thing was, when I started reading those books, when I started doing the work, I had hope. And I think that most people, that's what we want. That's why we study, philosophy, because it gives you hope. It gives you something to look into or for. And then also, that's why, there's spiritual practices that give you hope. And that's why it's very, very important to have some sort of foundation. So when things like that happen, you can just snap back.
Welcome to The Art of Rising, where we are exploring transformation, leadership, and the rise of conscious visionaries and people that are changing the planet. I'm here with a powerful brother that I met a while back, and he's got a very interesting story. So we're here to decode some of the tools that we need to go through this life. Welcome, Brother Aaron, to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me today.
I appreciate you. I think about that saying that I often tell people, where if you meet the guy who says that he has the shoe that fits every foot, stay away from that guy. Right? Because there's different size feet, there's different widths, there's different styles of shoes, But let's get right into it, brother. Tell us a little bit first, like where you're from and, what you're doing with yourself these days.
Yeah, so I was born in Juarez, it's part of Mexico, and I was born there. And I learned so much living there, man. I saw a lot of things there that really made me stronger and made me the person that I am now. It made me more resilient, and it helped me to see life, you can say, different. And I went through so much during that stage because of my parents. My parents divorced, didn't have like the type of support that I wanted. But then kind of looking back into it, like that was the whole hero's journey so that I can become the person that I am now, right? So now, again, my name's Aaron. I'm a high performance mindset coach, and I help people rewire their thinking and mental states so that they can break their limits and live a life they once thought was impossible. So yeah, man, here I am.
That's powerful. Mexico is gorgeous. Let me tell you, it's beautiful.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, man.
If nobody's ever been to Mexico, just go to California. Because that belongs to Mexico. We all know that. Right? They took it. Yeah, right. Exactly. So, tell me a little bit about some of those struggles as you were coming up. And I'm assuming that your father was not very active in your life.
Correct.
So
He was present, but not fully present. And at that time in Juarez is a very rough city to grow up in, just because there's a lot of crime and violence. I mean, it was very, very rough. But because of that, I started developing like resiliency, to be independent, to be aware of my surroundings. I was very aware at a very young age. And, something that really helped as well. I used to watch Power Rangers and Batman and, all these like cool superheroes. And I really enjoyed watching them because they had this, like the kung fu and the fighting, right? The combative arts. I loved it. Even when I would go see my grandpa, he would watch like Bruce Lee movies and, the kung fu and the fighting. And it was very interesting. And as I started growing up, I started diving deeper into that, the martial arts, because people just see the kicks and the snap of the jab and all of that, but there's actually just more than the fighting. And where I got very interested in was the internal work that most people don't see, right? So it's the meditation, the breath work, the controlling of self, the mastery of self. Who am I? Why am I here? And I started diving deeper into those questions. And so this happened in about 2015. Um, I actually went through a very dark time in life where I wanted to commit suicide. It was really bad. And out of nowhere, I remember asking, the universe, God, uh, like, if you exist, show me the path, show me the way. Because, when you're really struggling, you start to really contemplate and start, or at least for me, I started asking like deeper questions. And so I said, if you exist, guide me. And long story short, I heard this voice in my head and said, this is the beginning. Like, this is not the end of Aaron. And soon after that, I started connecting and meeting people that learned or knew Qigong, and they taught me Qigong, breath work, meditation. And then that's when I encountered philosophy, Buddhism and Stoicism. And it's very, very powerful because those philosophies have helped me. Buddhism really helped me to ground myself and to let go. But Stoicism really helped me to learn mental frames so then I can change my perspective in certain scenarios or whatever circumstance I was in. So now that I was able to overcome that, now I bring that to people so then they can really tap into their potential.
That's super powerful, brother. Wow. And I know those feelings too, man. Sometimes we go to these dark places too. And I don't know, perhaps we're meant to do that. I was telling a brother, we were sharing some of the struggles, like some of the deep, dark things that we did. And then I told him, hey, maybe we had to go through those things. Why? I don't know why. And I didn't like it. It sucked. I wouldn't choose it, but maybe we had to go through those things in order to rise and to become the person that we are. I mean, you got kids who have it all, rich kids, and they jumping off the roof.
Mhm.
They overdose
100%.
in it. Yes, like what? You got everything.
Yes. And I think that for me, going through that experience, it gave me a hunger, it gave me a fire. And I wasn't the same ever since. I was stronger, resilient. And when you're going through those phases in life where you're suffering, because that's part of the human nature, that's life in general. Those are the moments where you had to remember who you are, what you're capable of, and you had to look back into what you went through in the past so then you can use those successes and the strength that you had to overcome past issues to use them in the present moment, whatever you're dealing with.
Yeah. Sometimes life is unfair and some hard things come, but they might be so hard that it'll just crush you and destroy everything around you. But if you have already been through some of the dark times into that cave and you slay that dragon, it's so empowering. I was recently going over another book, and I know you're into books too, because I remember we spoke about that, right?
Oh yeah,
The War of Art by Scott Pressfield, right?
that's right.
And he says that he was writing, and always typing, but never finishing. Like he had written like about 9 novels, and he threw them all in the garbage. Like imagine that you're writing like hundreds of pages, and he just threw it in the car. He couldn't finish it. He just wasn't with it. And he said that he came to the point where he was like, "This is it. I've got to do it." And he came to the end of the book, and he typed the end, and he pulled out the sheet and he put it on top of the other pages, and he felt like he had slayed the dragon. you know. And
Mm.
then in the book, he says, "Rest in peace, motherfucker."
Ooh, that's a powerful way to end the
Yeah,
book, man.
yeah,
That's
I know.
powerful.
Yeah,
That's
and
very
he just
powerful.
stepped into
And
his into his power. But let me ask you a little bit about some of those darker times when you got into that deep, you know, I don't like to say depression because this is like a word that people just throw around, and who tells you that you're depressed? Like you know, like a
yeah,
doctor? Come on, you know, they'll tell you right
right.
away, and they'll even give you medicine for it. You
Oh yeah,
know, back in
yeah,
the days, you had to do like a couple of sessions, you know, therapy before they told you that. Now, just
yeah.
one setting, and they give you medication. You know,
Hmm.
but tell us that was in 2015, correct?
Yeah, so that was in
Mm-hmm.
2015, and yeah, so I started learning about NLP. NLP is a very powerful technique, neuro linguistic programming, which helps you to reprogram your mind, and that's what I did. I started. I didn't have money. I didn't have the money to get a coach. I didn't have the money to I didn't even know there was coaches that do that at that point. In when I was going through that. So what I did, I started reading books, and one of them was about NLP, and it really helped me to really use my body to start thinking differently, to get into emotional states that are higher level instead of like lower level energy. So I would wake up, I was like, I'm ready. Today is the day, and then I would like anchor that, right? And then the other thing that I found was Wim Hof. This guy, let me tell you, Wim Hof method is very, very powerful because it gave me the resiliency and the strength to push forward no matter what, right? Because you had to do the cold shower as well. You had to do the ice baths. I started with cold showers. I started doing the breathing techniques, and I was like, man, I feel high right now. I feel really good. I'm like super hyped up, right? And then I would get into the shower, and I'm like, damn, I feel amazing right now. Like, let's go conquer the world, right? And so it really helped me to realign myself and to become a different version of myself. It wasn't easy. I'll tell you that, right? It was not easy. And the thing was, uh, when I started reading those books, when I started doing the work, I had hope. And I think that most people, that's what we want. That's why we study, philosophy, because it gives you hope. It gives you something to look into or for. And then also, that's why, there's spiritual practices that give you hope. And that's why it's very, very important to have some sort of foundation. So when things like that happen, you can just snap back and kind of reclaim your power.
Uh,
I think there was like a series of events that I was kind of like going through. And one of the things that I did notice that there was a lot of suppression of emotion. So I was suppressing everything. And then, I don't know, I started feeling numb. And I think at that point in life too, I was kind of like lost in life. So I didn't know what my purpose was or who I was. I guess what happened, I'll be very honest, now that I'm thinking about it, I was a very materialistic person. I was a very materialistic person. So I had to have like the watch, I had to have everything, branded and all this stuff, right? But then I kind of lost connection within myself because I started asking, like, well, I have this, I have that, I'm not happy. I have nice clothes, I have the watches, I have the expensive things. Why am I feeling like this? And I think it was a combination of like suppressed emotions with like purpose or having no purpose at all, and then not knowing who I was. And so I think what happened was that time when I was going through that, I lost my job. Right? I lost my job. So my income was affected. So guess what? It's like they took away all the materialistic things. And it's like, boom, like, okay, fine. Now let's take that away from you. Now, who are you without the watch? And who are you without the nice things? That's how I see it now, right? And when I was going through that again, what really helped me was reading the books, connecting with really cool people, and learning about myself a little bit more. I started journaling. Journaling is very powerful, guys. It's very, very powerful. We track our finances, We
Mm-hmm.
track our workouts, but we don't track our character. We don't track that. And that's the power of journaling. When you journal, you start to write about yourself. Like, hey, today I don't know, I put excuses and I didn't get this done. Hey, today I was on social media for 5 hours and I was not productive at all. So when you start journaling, you start becoming aware of yourself, right? So it's very powerful to start journaling. And that's another thing that really helped me to identify some of those inner issues that I had.
Yeah, we're big on that here at Omziel too, and the tracking system. We always preach that. We tell brothers, we tell anyone, get yourself a desk calendar, right? And then each month, tear off a month and then put it on your closet on the outside, not the inside, because out of sight, out of mind. And then start tracking everything. Start tracking your thing. Like if you went for a run, if you worked out at the gym, if you meditated, but also like if you ate that whole tub of ice cream or the whole bag of chips, or you self pleasured yourself, or you went to sleep with the TV on.
That's right.
Why? Because you cannot see. If you just don't track it, just like you said, like you're just going. Any little wind comes and you just don't know. You get to see your character, your behavior, your patterns, and see like, hey man, I was kicking ass there for 2 weeks, or you can see like, oh man, come on, bro, 2 weeks, come on, you're better than that, bro. Let's go,
That's right.
and then you start tracking. So we're big on that.
Yeah, so meditation is a very, very powerful tool or practice, I should say, that I believe everyone should start to incorporate. Now, why? The reason why is because there's so many benefits. You hear about the benefits, right? It helps with stress, it gives you clarity, all this stuff. But the reason why I started meditating was because I wanted deeper insights. And most people don't talk about that. People just want the benefit of, I want less stress, I want to be more productive. And I think that in the modern times that we're living in, we're forgetting the spiritual aspect. And that's why in the modern world, we need the ancient wisdom. Because no matter, we have AI now, everything is done for you. You type something in 30 seconds, you already have your answer. Or less than 30 seconds. In 10 seconds, you have your answer. But there's certain things that ChatGPT cannot answer for you. Like, who are you? Who do you want to become? Like, what should I do from this point on? ChatGPT can give you some opinion, but it cannot really dive deep into the soul. And so meditation really helps you to get a deeper insight of yourself, right? So when I used to watch these kung fu movies with my grandpa, I remember the master or the disciple would go into his master. He's like, Master, like, I don't know what to do. And the master would tell him, well, sit down and meditate. The disciple was like, what? I need to know. I was like, well, sit down and meditate, right? And then they would go back again. Master, I'm going through this. The master would tell him, sit down and meditate, right? And I remember watching those movies, and I remember the scenes in the movie. But now I'm able to understand it, because the problems live within ourselves. So when you meditate, those problems meditate with you, because your problems and you are one. They're not external. And although you think they're external, they're not. Most of them are coming from you, your perspective, your thoughts, your behaviors, and what they say, karma. Karma is just the actions that you took, and now you're getting the results. It's cause and effect. So if I say I'm just gonna eat fast food, and then you start to gain weight, well, that's the cause that you created, that you made, and now you get the effect, which is overweight, right? So I'm actually practicing Buddhist, and the number one thing is cause and effect. So then the question is, who do you want to become? Like, well, I want to be, I don't know, let's say I want to be in shape, I want to be I want to be fit. It's like, okay, so what's the cause that you need to make so then you can get that effect? Well, I need to hit the gym, and I need to start eating healthier. And it's like that's the fundamental aspect of Buddhism. And going back to the meditation part, when you meditate, it gives you insight into who you are. And sometimes when you're lost in life, meditation is a very powerful practice because your mind kind of shuts off and you're able to hear your internal voice, your Buddha nature. Like you already know what you have to do and what you want to do, but since there's a lot of noise out there and opinions and your family telling you, oh, you shouldn't do this, and then your friends, well, you should do this instead, and then you go on social media and social media tells you, well, if you're not making 6 figures a month, then you're a loser. So then you're kind of like, well, who am I? What's going on? But when you sit down and meditate, the wisdom just kicks in, and you're like, this is who I am. This is the answer that I'm looking for. So
for sure, it has it's super powerful. It all major masters, they always go away, like the 40 days in the desert, and it's the same story. You have to be alone, you have to be quiet. I usually tell people that when you pray, you speak to God, and then when you want to hear what God has to tell you, you meditate. It's just as simple as that. It's no dogma or nothing like that. Some people think it's like, well, I don't meditate, but I pray. Yeah, but how do you hear God? How do you listen? If I'm talking to you and you're talking, you're not going to hear me. You see what I'm saying? You have to be quiet, be still, and then I'll talk to you. You see, like that. Until then, I'm not going to talk to you. I'll wait till you're finished, and then we'll start talking.
Yeah.
But your analogy about the Kung Fu movies and the deepness of it, these philosophies that have interwoven into the movies, right? And America, they're not very good with that. They're about distractions. They're not about the deepness, but sometimes they get it good. They get the Matrix and like Interstellar. Like sometimes they get it good. Sometimes they get it, but when it comes to those movies, the one that I always enjoyed was the guy who came in, master, please, help me. I'll do anything. I have to find my purpose. He goes, oh, you want it? Okay. All right. Get me some tea. And he goes, he pours some tea, and he goes, okay, now clean the floor, oh yeah. And then, that goes on for a few days. Then he's like, hey, look, you're not teaching me anything. I'm over here cleaning the floor, serving, but you're not teaching me nothing. I can't take it, And then he says, okay, you're ready now. Now sit down,
Yeah.
Then he's,
and I think, and that's the power of having a mentor as well, having like a coach, having a mentor that either went through something very similar or that has the tool sets that can really help you to rewire your thinking. Because again, like I mentioned, like sometimes what needs to happen is you need to rewire yourself. From your thinking, from your emotional states. And here's the thing, this is something that I found very, very interesting through my own experience of, I'm very observative. That's, I don't know, maybe a gift that I have, an ability that I developed over time, maybe because when I was growing up, I had to be aware of my surroundings. But something that I realized is that most people are not in control of their emotional states. And the interesting thing about that is that whatever emotional state you're in most of the time, it becomes your default emotional state. In other words, if you're sad for 30 days, then your default emotional state is sadness. Why? Because you practice it so long that that's what you know, and it just becomes part of you, right? And I see a lot of people that are living in the past. Like, yeah, well, I am the way I am because of my dad or my mom or circumstance, or I lost a job and you don't know how that feels. And I was like, okay, I totally understand, but when did that happen? Oh, well, that happened about 10 years ago. I'm like, so you are in the emotional state of 10 years ago. They're like, I didn't think about it that way. I was like, well, you've been practicing that emotional state for 10 years. So that became part of your identity now. Because, I mean, it's 10 years, right? There's people that, they tap into a negative emotional state, low energy, and they stay there for a very long time. And so when you have a coach or a mentor that can really see a bigger picture, and I think I'm big into. I studied religion and philosophy, and I remember there's a story of Jesus that, or not Jesus, but God that speaks to Abraham, and Abraham is going through so many things, and God tells him like, "Can you see beyond the circumstance? Can you see beyond what you're going through?" And it's powerful, right? Because we can't. When you're suffering, all you see is the suffering, right? But the spiritual tells you, like, can you see beyond this? Can you see beyond what you're going through? Can you see what you can possibly be if you overcome this issue, this circumstance you're in? How would it look like? Who would you be if you actually overcome this? And then we have people like us that we're talking about our suffering, and we overcame the suffering, and now we're bringing hope into people that are going to either something very similar, and they're like, damn, if this guy was able to pull it off, I'm pretty sure I can pull it off, right? But that's the reason why we do this, is the work, and it's also the hope, to give them hope and to mentor them, to guide them, to give them the tool sets that they need, so then they can rewire themselves and they can tap into a different reality.
Right, right. You know, you bring up a great point. One of them is like, who am I to be doing any of these things? Right? Is some of that imposter syndrome that we all get. Like, you know, where's my degree? Or I don't have the accolades, or maybe I don't have the connections of the right complexion. You know, we go through all of these things, you know, but I came to the conclusion that, hey, you know, I've been through some dirt, man, like the lowest points, and not only for a day. Like, I've done, you know, years and years of that garbage, and I made it through that. That's what certifies me. That's what gives me the authority to speak to someone, to help them, you know. And then you talk about this also like a life coach. When I was coming up, there was nothing about that. You know, there was nothing. Like, I didn't hear any. And then they started coming up with this term. I was like, a life coach? Come on, man.
Yeah.
I don't need a life coach. Why would you know, it's just some advice. I'll give somebody some advice. They give me some advice, and let's keep moving, you know, until, you know, things got a little bit hard, and then I couldn't figure things out. And what do? We turn to someone who has experience, and you could put whatever name you want on it, but currently that's one of the names. It's just syntax. That's all. We're just using words, but it's a life coach or a mentor, or any name you want to put on it. So,
and if you don't have, and if you're going through a very dark time and you don't have the resources, what I recommend is read books about philosophy. And here's the reason why. If you read most of the personal development books, they're always talking about Buddha, or they're talking about they refer to Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, king, or Epictetus or Seneca. And so when I was actually getting into personal development books, I read a lot of personal development books, right? And most of the personal development books are the same. If you start to pick up on it, it's like, it's the same thing. Maybe a little bit of a different story because the author is different, but the point is the same, right? So what I started doing, that's how I got into philosophy, by the way. When I started reading personal development books, I realized that the authors were referencing, Marcus Aurelius, a great Stoic, Buddha, a great, you know, master of the mind. So why not read from them when all these books are based off their teachings?
Right.
So then I started learning about them. And so if you're going through something very difficult and you don't have the resources, I'd suggest for you to, you know, read a book on, you know, Marcus Aurelius. Meditations is a great one. And also you can study someone from like Tony Robbins. Go on YouTube and search him up, and it's like, I'm going through this, how can I overcome it? And there's going to be a bunch of videos, because he practices NLP, right? So he practices NLP, and he helps you to rewire the mind, your emotional state, all this good stuff. And at least you have a guideline. At least you have something where you can practice based on the results that he's been provided to other people.
Right, definitely.
So
I totally agree. I totally agree. I'm big on books, and we offer people a free folder with audiobooks and PDF. So if anybody out there is interested listening, just hit me up. You send me your email, and it'll show up right in your inbox, and you'll have access to my personal folder with audiobooks and PDF. So there's no excuse. And then YouTube, like you said, like I was doing another audio. I don't want to mention the company's name, but they were charging me like for these books, and I was like, "Wait a minute, just look on YouTube. They were there for free on YouTube." It was
mhm,
just crazy. Aaron,
yeah.
let me ask you this: what is the most common mental block that you see in people, and what's the first step that you do to dismantle that?
The number one that I see is doubt and fear.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, doubt and fear.
mm,
And I'm a very philosophical guy, so I'm always, meeting people and asking questions. I don't know, I'm just weird like that. But So I
inquisitive.
used to be a massage. Yes. So I used to be a massage therapist, and I would when I would work on them and give them treatment, I would have this conversation with them, right? And so I did that for over 10 years. So I spoke with thousands of people, and when we would touch on this question, like, so what's holding you back? Like, what do you want to do? Oh, well, I want to have my own business, or I want to do this X, Y, Z, right? And I would ask them, like, so what's stopping you?
Mm,
And then they kind of like really think about it, and they're like,
mm,
I don't think I have the potential
mm,
to get it done,
mm,
but also I'm afraid. And I'm like, that's interesting. So then I started asking people over and over again the doubt and fear. So
mm,
then the question becomes like, well, how do I address this, right? So then I can actually become more to tap more into my power. Well,
mm,
fear is a blockage that you need to understand where it comes from, because fear for everyone is different. It may be from the past, it may be something that you're just creating in your own mind. It really depends, but you need to understand where the fear is coming from, and
mm,
where does it show up in your life, and identify it that way. Okay,
mm,
because
mm.
yeah, I mean, if you start to feel afraid and you feel fear when you're starting something new, of course, I mean, everyone experiences that because it's new.
Mm,
You don't know what
mm.
the outcome is going to be, so
Yeah,
you're
it's
afraid. What
it,
if?
right. It's the unknown. The
It's the unknown.
unknown. Humans are always afraid of
Exactly.
that. That's why if an alien was to come in the ship and land, he would just step out of the ship. We would grab him, you know,
Mhm.
tie him up, do all kinds of experiments on him and cage him up. And meanwhile, the guy came like as a nice guy, just trying to talk to people. Yeah, but we don't know. We're afraid.
Mhm. Exactly. So fear, and then doubt is they doubt themselves. So like, I don't think I'm enough. I don't think I'm capable. And so the way to really address this is, some people say affirmations and do this. My thing is, you need to, some people actually think that it's a confidence issue. It's like, oh, well, you need to believe in yourself. Yes, that really helps. But then if you start to, the way I see it is, you need to work on your self image first, because that's the core of who you are, right? So the way you see yourself, that's how you're going to behave, and that's how you're going to operate, and that's how you're going to see the world. So if you see yourself as like, yeah, I'm not capable, it's going to show up in everything, like your relationships, your business, even your spiritual practices is just going to like show up. In every aspect of life, it's going to show up. So then the way to do this is to really think about yourself, or to become aware of the image that you hold about yourself, and start there. And again, we go back to meditation, we go back to journaling, we go to breath work, because it really helps you to ground yourself
Mm,
and being in solitude, in silence, because
mm.
that's where you find your answers most of the time.
Yeah.
Silence. You become aware, you see things, you hear things, and you have to be aware of the self image that you have. Some people
Mhm,
don't have a very strong self image. They're like,
mhm,
yeah, well, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't think
mhm,
I deserve love. I don't think I'm XYZ. And so they have that image of themselves.
mhm,
And so that carries on. And
Mm, mm,
so how do you become aware of those mental blockages? You that way, journaling, meditating, knowing where those issues are coming from or those emotions are coming from. And
mm,
then
mm,
from there, I have this very powerful meditation practice where I start to visualize myself how I want to be. So
mm,
I visualize myself like acting confident, speaking confident, making things happen, being productive, being
mm,
focused, being healthy, in abundance. And I think in abundance, because when most people, when I ask people like, who do you want to become? Like, what do you want in life? And they're
mm,
very limiting in the way they speak. Well, I'm making like 30K a year. I'm okay with like 40K a year. I'm okay if I drive like a decent car. I was like, okay, that's cool. But let's think bigger now.
mm,
Let's see
mm,
God appears to you and says, hey, what do you want out of life? And I'll provide
mm,
it to you right away.
mm, mm.
No limitations, just
Right.
big. And they're like,
Yeah.
oh well, if that's the case, then I want to lose 100 pounds, want to be fit,
Yeah.
I want to drive like a GTR, or a
Mm,
Mustang GT, and I
yeah.
want to have this kind of job, and I want to have this type of
Mm,
relationships, and I want to have abundance of love, health, wealth, you name it. And it's like that's
mm.
what we want. So why were you settling for less?
Right. Right. Yeah, we have to push. We have to push the boundaries. How about yourself? How do you know when it's time to push harder? And what is it that you do? You know.
So what I do is I change my state, my emotional state, right? And what do I do when I had to like push harder? And it's like when things show up and I say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I really ask myself, why don't I want to do this? This is something that I want to do. Why is it that I don't want to do it now?
Mm,
Sometimes it's a message where it's like, you know what? This is not aligned with who I am. But when it's aligned with who I am and what I want to do,
mhm,
it's like, okay, you're starting to get lazy now. Like, get your
mm,
ass up and start doing the work,
mhm,
right? And I changed my state. I changed my state, like, all right, Aaron, let's go. And I started doing like a Taoist breathing technique. And I'll show it right now. So what I do is I actually uh, breathe in and I open up the body. So I'm gonna stand up here and I open up the body. And then after that, I exhale and I close the body. So it's yin yang, yin yang. So when you're doing this, you're using your body and your breath, because the breath is a connector of the mind
mm,
and the body. So it's like, oh my God, I'm just so out of it. My body, I feel like there's tension and my mind is going crazy. Okay, connect them,
mm,
connect it, like ground them and then connect it. Because when you connect the mind and the body, that's a state of well-being. That's your state,
mm, mm,
right? So when you use the body and you're
mm,
using the bridge, which is the breath, you change your emotional state. So that's what I do. I'm like, hey, I don't want to do this. I'm too tired. Hey, listen, you're gonna sleep in a few hours. Let's get
right.
this over with. And
Right.
I do the
Yep.
breathing technique, and I just push through it.
Yeah, yeah. I experienced similar things too. As you already know, I've been on the grind for a while, man, and I'm just keep pushing, pushing more, pushing farther. Like before, when I used to go for a run, I used to check the weather. Now I don't check the weather. Or I used to go downstairs, open the door, it was raining, close the door, go back upstairs. Now I just go. But I get that voice, the one telling you, oh, don't do it, don't go. Why you
Oh
got to get
yeah.
up? Why you up at 4 o'clock in the morning? Nobody's up. Then just rest a few more hours. And even if I did sleep a few more hours, then it'll tell me, stay a few more hours, it's okay.
Mhm.
It's just relentlessness. But you have to push through that. You have to develop that muscle, because the mind
Yeah.
is just a muscle. So for me, Aaron, usually when I hear that voice, like, oh, don't do it, that's when I know that I have to do it. that's
Mhm.
that's my cue. I go, thank you so much, now I'm going. And it could be the littlest things: washing the
Yeah.
dishes, taking the garbage out,
Yes.
sweeping I mean, simple things like doing the wash. I don't want to do it. Or it's late at night, I don't want to take a shower, thank you. Cold water.
Yep.
That's it. Get out. Then I feel like elated once I do these things. It
Oh yeah.
helps me, and I feel that you also experience these things as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I don't want to do certain things. Um, and that's the reason why I like to study about ancient warriors. Because if you really think about the samurais and the Spartan warriors, right? We go back
Mm,
in time. Let's go back in time for a minute.
mhm,
Do you really think when they had to go, fight the enemy, do you really think that they would say, you know what, it's too sunny today? Fuck that. We're not fighting today. Or like, let's go even more back in time where
yeah.
we had to like go and hunt and gather food for our tribe, right?
Mhm,
Do
mhm,
you really think they said,
mhm,
shit,
mhm.
it's raining, man?
Yeah,
I guess we're
yeah,
not eating today. They
right.
didn't. They didn't. And that's what we do today.
Yeah,
We wake
yeah.
up, we open up the window, and I'm like, oh
Mhm.
shit, it's sunny out there. I ain't going to the gym.
Right,
Like,
right.
what? Like, you think the Spartan warriors and the samurai say, yeah, we're not doing today. We're not training today because the
Mhm.
weather fucking sucks. Or we're not
Right,
training today because I just don't feel like doing this. Like,
right.
if they would do that, they would
Mhm.
not be the warriors they're
Yeah,
known as today.
yeah. There would be no civilizations. There would be no growth in cities and art, and temples. There would be none of that because people be like, "Nah, man,
Yeah.
let's not
But
do that." What
imagine,
would
right?
it? Mhm.
But imagine this.
Mhm.
Like King Leonidas. Most people know about King Leonidas. Why?
Mhm. Mhm.
Leadership. He was strong, resilient, courageous, brave. And there's a story of the 300 Spartans. This
Mhm.
happened thousands of years ago, and guess what? People
Mhm.
still know
Mhm.
about this. It's
Yeah,
a legacy, right?
yeah, yeah.
And that's what I aim for. Like I
Mm.
aim for legacy. So
Mm, mm,
that's what
mm,
I'm after.
mm,
The
mm,
legacy. I want to be
mm.
known for something, and
Yeah.
that something is to help people.
Yes. Yeah. Same here. I live my life like that. I'm a self-aware person, and whatever I do in my life is for that cause, like to better myself. Because I know that when I'm better, people get better too. If I'm a piece of garbage and that's what if I'm eating garbage and I'm not doing these things, think about, the Christ like, the light in you, you see, because there's been people throughout time that we know of, the masters, that you would just look at them, you could just see the energy, you'd be like, wow, man, I got to get with that person, that
Oh yeah,
man, that woman too. You spoke about philosophers, and also Yeshua, right? They know him as Jesus. He was like one of the
yes,
ultimate philosophers too. And he spoke like
absolutely,
in simple, right? He spoke in parables and simple. The one that
yes.
always I love is they said, "Oh, what are your teachings? What is it that we should do?" And he said, love your neighbor as yourself."
That's
Right? And I
true.
always imagine, Aaron, that half the crowd probably walked off, bro, right?
Yeah,
Because they was
yeah.
like, "Oh man, that's deep." Yeah.
He's a very. It's very interesting to read about Jesus because there's so many aspects of it. There's the mystical, there's the philosophical, right?
Mm, mm,
And
mm,
so, for example, he's the son of God, and it's interesting because he would actually experience like human emotions.
mm,
And
mm,
before he was going to be put on the cross,
mm,
uh, he actually went to God and said, to the Father, and he said, like, is there a way to, go about this like a different way? And God said, no, this is your mission. And so we are that reflection of Jesus, where sometimes
mm,
we're like, is there another way? Maybe I don't want to go through this. But like, no, you have to
mm.
go through this so then you can actually become the person that you were meant to be. Because really
Right.
think about this. This is the symbolic way. When Jesus was crucified, before he was crucified, he had this fear or this maybe he wanted like a different route. right?
Mm-hmm.
But when he went to God the Father, he said, no, this is what you have to go through. And once he went through it, he got crucified. He was reborn. And that's a symbolic way of looking at it from our perspective as humans, where sometimes we have to make the ultimate sacrifice. Sometimes we have to do the things that we don't want to do. But at the
Right.
very end, you're not going to be the same person that you were before.
Right. Right. You'd be much better. You were raised in your status and all of that. Let's get back a bit into some of the philosophers. I always think of Socrates, right? You know his crime. You know what they got him for?
Yes.
Tell me his crimes. Do you know his crime? What they got him for?
So Socrates, I think he was, if I'm correct, because he was telling the truth, correct? He was telling the truth to people so people can have their own way of thinking.
Exactly.
And think things instead of just believing and so on, but to be free thinkers, in other words.
Yeah,
so,
there was. I'm sorry to cut you off, but the two charges officially was not worshiping the local god and influencing the young people.
There we go.
Okay? So he was telling young people, just question, think about what is it and why you're doing that. But I mean, he wasn't worshiping the local gods. No, he was way out there. They got him for that one. That was good. That was good. He was wrong there. He was wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm kidding. But yeah, just that telling people to think for yourself, man. So tell me about any philosophers that help you, or maybe with Socrates too, that help you to shape, the way you coach, the way you live, and why.
To me would be Buddha and Marcus Aurelius. Okay. Now, is the Eastern and the Western, because the Eastern teaches you about letting go, like let go internally. I don't know what to do. Sit down and meditate. Right? That's the Eastern way. Let go. And then you have the Western view, which is Marcus Aurelius, and the Stoics, which is who do you want to become? So you start to ask your questions. So the Eastern is more about letting go, and then the Western is more about implementation and planning and thinking, being rational. And there's a polarity in life, and that we need to understand. Sometimes it's about attaining an action, and sometimes it's about, hey, you just need to sit back. You're doing too much. Let go. And most people in the Western, we tend to just hustle. We have to do the work. Go, 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 go. It's like, man, I'm not getting any results, but look at everything that I'm doing. It's like, yeah, because maybe the answer to you right now is let go.
One of Marcus Aurelius' famous quotes is, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength.
Yes.
I love that. I love it. We just think it's outside. It's not outside.
Yeah. So I think this is what I do with my coaching, right? So I'm able to blend both Eastern and Western. Because when I work with people, sometimes they have a lot of things. They're like, yeah, well, I implemented this, I implemented that, and this is what I'm doing. And I was like, let go for a minute. Let go. Let go of the plan. Let go. Forget about this. Let's just be here and now. Be fully present, very moment. And they're like, oh my God, I was doing a lot of things that were not even necessary. But we live in this world now where knowledge and information is in your fingertips now.
Wow.
I'm feeling a certain way. How can I change my life? And then boom, you look it up. It's like, oh, here's a plan. Implement it. Well, I want to change this, and like boom, boom, boom. And so there's a lot of information overload. It's very interesting because now I'm kind of shifting my work into men's groups. And that's the next thing here that I want to bring up is bring all the tools to men. Because as you can see, and I'm pretty sure you're aware of this, and again, I want to say this, I want to emphasize this, there's nothing wrong, but there's a lot of support for women out there. I actually went to a networking event yesterday, and I met about, I want to say there was 3 girls there that do like women's work. Like, oh yeah, we had to empower women. And I was like, that's awesome, that's beautiful,
Mm.
but there's no men's groups.
Mm.
There's not a lot of them.
Mm.
And
Mm.
so I'm bringing that into that's the next thing, man. That's the next step. That's the vision right now. Kind of just bringing the men's groups and bringing like NLP, meditation, all these beautiful tools of philosophy and so on
Let's do it.
to help them get stronger.
I often tell people that we are like the usher at the movie. We're trying to help you get to your seat without knocking somebody's popcorn over, right? Why? Because the movie's
Right.
yours. That's why it's yours.
Mhm.
You're the star. You're the one. You know.
Yeah.
Uh,
And when I used to attend men's groups, there was something that was very interesting to see. So when the facilitator would ask, "So who would like to open up to see what to express themselves and talk about their issues?" Most
mm,
men would just look at each other and they wouldn't do it until the facilitator, the leader, would go up front and they would speak about what they were going through. They would cry or they would like feel the
mm,
anger.
mm,
Then those men were like, man, if this guy did it, then I can do it too. So it gave them courage to talk about the emotional aspect of their of life, right? Of what they're
mm,
going through. And it's almost like you see them kind of taking their armor off, putting it aside, and then kind of just feeling free to be themselves, and then
mm,
talking to other men, and then they start to connect with other men, and
mm,
sometimes they get advice from other men that they went through it. They went through
mm,
this the circumstance that they were going through,
mm,
and
mm,
they get feedback. They get all this beautiful type of advice and encouragement and different tool sets.
mm,
um, but it's very, very interesting. Like men's
mm.
groups are able to see so many things there.
Yeah. So we've done quite a number of them, and I always think of many of the men in their stories, right? And it's always a personal, deep thing that we always keep within the circles. It's a sacred space that we open and we close, and the container is always stays there. But I always think of that one brother. He let out some information that was so deep, Aaron, and then he said, "My wife doesn't even know this." And we looked at each other like, he
Mhm.
loves her. He has kids with her. But he felt comfortable to open that up here within this men's group. Man, we were on it, bro. It was deep, bro.
Yeah,
Powerful.
and it's very important to have brotherhood, man, because
Mm-hmm.
your brothers will check you. Sometimes you're wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and your brothers are gonna say, "Hey, listen, man, like they let
Mm-hmm.
you express it yourself." But then they're also going to tell you, hey, you're actually wrong here, but how can we help you to get to point A to point B?
Right. Yeah. Am I my brother's keeper?
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. Yep.
I am. That's right. You see, the
Mhm,
scriptures, it tells you right there. Yep. That's what he
mhm,
told the creator. He said, "Yeah, why are you asking me? Am I my brother's keeper?" Yeah, you are. You should know where he's at, what he's doing. That's right. And check him. I mean, I've had many men tell me, hey, look, oh, this, oh, man. And then it stays in my head. He's right. I'm open to that. I wasn't always. Before it was like ego based, like you be telling me, but now it's like, oh, let me check that, and then I tell other brothers too, with love, tell them, hey, man, come on, you're doing this
mhm,
thing like that. That's immature, bro. Men don't move like that. Men don't
mhm.
move like that. Nah. Besides,
Yeah.
women don't like that. What I'm saying?
Yeah. But you know what's interesting about that too, the ego is, some people say we have to let go of the ego.
Mhm,
But I've noticed that most men, we have an ego, and that's the reason why there's blockages when we have to speak to our wives about certain things that we don't like.
mhm.
Because women, they're different creatures. They're different. They
Mhm,
communicate differently. We communicate differently. And something that I became aware of the ego in men is that, and again, this is just my theory. I'm not saying this is what it is, but maybe the reason why we have more of an ego is because we need to hold our ground. Like a
mhm,
man, if you have a vision and then someone tells you, hey, well, you should do this instead, you're like, yeah, you're right. If you don't have a strong ego,
mhm,
then you will be a drifter. And that's why we as men have an ego, so that we can protect division so we can protect the tribe. So then we can, of course, we had to be more open-minded when it comes down to
Yeah.
feedback. But
Mhm.
what if the ego wasn't there and they tell you, hey, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be a coach. I think what you
Yeah.
should go is go back to school and be a doctor.
Right.
Oh yeah, you're right. I think I should go
Yeah.
to school and be a doctor.
Yeah.
And then they go back to school to be a doctor, and then they're like, this is not what I wanted to do. Yeah, but
Right.
since you didn't have
Mhm.
enough or a strong self, which is
Right.
part of a little bit of ego there,
Mhm.
um,
Mm.
that's what that's what protects you in a
Yeah.
way.
That's
But
a
it
great
has to be
point.
healthy. It has to
It's
be
a great
healthy.
point. Yeah, it has to be healthy. Yeah, you have to keep it in check too, because it'll run right over
Yes.
you, and you be kicking people around. Like as soon as you
Yes.
meet them, you punch them in the mouth. Like you don't got to punch people in the mouth every time you meet. Yeah, I had a brother tell me
Shut
that.
up.
I was like,
Ah!
wow, yeah. It's like, yeah, you don't have to do that. But
Yeah.
that's a great point about the ego and dissecting and discerning some of that energy that people come with too, because they're good people, they're even family members, right? People you love to the end, but sometimes they come with that, and you want to be a peaceful warrior, right? You want to be all about love and light and energy, and okay, we're loving and everything, but if you come with a sword, what am I going to come to you with the flower? No, it doesn't work like that, bro. You come with the sword, I'm with my sword too. See, I'm ready also. Don't come with that energy to try to come for me. I see you. You see,
That's
okay.
right.
Oh, we're at peace. Oh, okay. I put it away now. Now we could talk. And what seems to be the issue here? Okay, I love you too, brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
aware. Be aware. We're coming up on the hour, brother. Thank you so much. This has been like super, super powerful, man. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, thank you for the invite.
Of course, man. Why don't you tell
More than we
people?
do.
Of course. Why don't you tell people where they could find you too?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram. It's gonna be underscore Aaron Ortiz, just like my full name. Again, underscore Aaron Ortiz is where you can find me. If you have any questions, if you want to work together and kind of break some limitations and get you into your purpose, reach out to me, DM me, and we'll work something out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I know you're open like that. So I encourage anybody who just wants to, I don't know, just ask a question, or just talk. Hello, just say hello. I know Aaron is open like that. And Aaron, that's with two A's in the front,
That's
which is
correct.
yeah, which is a powerful name. I don't know exactly the meaning of the name. Would you happen to know what it means?
I think it's from the Bible.
Yeah,
It's from the
it's
Bible.
definitely
I believe it was the brother of Moses,
yeah, Moses. Yeah,
and
Moses.
he was the
That's right.
his ability was to speak,
Yeah, people
to,
don't know that.
to
Yeah,
share
they
the
think
message of the gospel or God. You
right.
could say, yeah,
Yeah, they think like Charleston Heston, Moses. Oh, he went to the Pharaoh. It's like, yo, read your
yeah.
scripture. You would see that he couldn't speak. He stuttered. He was poor in that. It was Aaron was the one who came and gave the message and talk. He was a powerful speaker.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
and
I'm
that's
trying to
what you
get to
are.
that level. So,
You're doing it. You're there, brother. You're there. You're there.
yes.
So I just want to mention really quick before we go, we're having the Purple Sage Festival. Aaron, this is something that you may or may not know about. It's this huge event that we have. We gather people, groups, musicians, artists, performers. Then there's energetic food and beverages and healing modalities, and it's a clean and sober event. There's no mind altering or no shifting in that way, not in that way, but you get together with like-minded people, and it's happening in the Stone Mountain Farm, which is located in New Paltz, New York. The stewards of the land are in charge of over 250 acres of land. It's absolutely beautiful. They got this Stonehenge thing that's lined up with the stars and the sun. It's stunning, bro. Aaron, I kid you not, brother. So if you stood to the end of the podcast, we want to help you out with that, and just let us know, and we'll give you the code. The code is right here. The code is clarity. When you purchase your ticket, you'll get 10% off of that ticket. We don't want money to stop people from coming and attending and receiving this powerful experience. So there you go. Thank you so much again, brother.
Hey,
Let's,
thank you, man.
let's do it again soon, okay? Okay, stay
Do
right
it.
there. I'm just going to close the show. Thank you for attending, family. Peace.